Alright, so I decided to make one more tutorial for roads because seems like you guys do not know how to texture the roads. So we're gonna be using some textures from the game itself. If you want to know exactly what this is, it's next to Vanilla Unicorn here. And if you want to see the camera position, it's right here on the screen. So we're gonna be extracting the textures from this area here, this particular piece of geometry from the game, and we're gonna be using exactly the same textures. That to keep it looking, to keep it look like a like part of the game. Uh, so with that being said, go to sections, go to mouse select, and have the that checkbox enabled, and then make sure the entity is on. Then select and move. Press T on the keyboard if you do not see that toolbar. I'm gonna zoom in here to see exactly what we're gonna be selecting first. We're gonna zoom out. So this is the overlay. As you can see here, RD, R2. I don't know if the R2 has anything to do with the naming convention, the way to do it. But if you were to look at this particular piece of geometry on the RPF Explorer, you'll see it has overlays. So the dirt and the cuts on the road and all that stuff is a completely new mesh and has its own textures, right? Like you see the paint splashes or whatever that it's supposed to be in there. So we do not need that. That's not what we're trying to do in here. We're trying to select the road, and seems like this is the road that we're interested in. And this geometry is what we're going to be extracting the textures from. And let's see what's the other one. Oh, this is the overlay, the one that we just looked at. All right, so with this piece of geometry, opening RPF Explorer, go to Materials, make a new directory on your desktop in here. And go to Save All Textures. There's a lot of them. "101 textures," and do it again with the shared textures, because I do not know if any of this will be in the dictionary, and if that's the case, you're gonna be exporting in the same directory. So we're done the code blocker right here. We have the textures that we need for the road, and we will be sorting those pictures, the textures, so we know exactly which one we're going to be using for the road. I'm going to be eliminate I'm going to eliminate the stuff we do not use. Gone, gone, gone. So this is, I think this is the curb. This is the middle of the road. I do not need any of those. Keep that. Delete. Delete. This is the curb textures. This is also garbage. We need that. We need that. We need that. This one we need also. I think this is the side of the road. We're not gonna be overcomplicating stuff, so we're just gonna keep it simple. I don't want this tutorial to be 6 hours long. I think we have enough textures for the curb. Those are the arrows for the roads. I do not. I'm gonna keep this one because that's gonna be, well, it's part of this, so we cannot delete that. This is the curb. I do not need that either. This is the vegetation, the terrain painting stuff. All right, so we're gonna start renaming the textures. It's just for you, so you'll have an easier time understanding the process. Because if uh, it's named the way Rockstar did it, it's not gonna make all that much sense to you. I don't need this either because this one has looks like it has the water, the drain textures, and we're not gonna be doing that. And so first we're gonna be renaming all the diffuse textures, right? Uh, I do not know exactly what program you're using to preview your textures, but I'm using Earphone View, which is free, and that does the job for me. So it's gonna be crossing, diffuse.dds, diffuse. And then the second one, the blue, the one that looks blue, is gonna be the normal. Diffuse is not gonna be diffuse, it's gonna be bump. I'm only naming it bump because that's the way it's the blender uh, wants to. That's the way the node is gonna be named bump, just for you. So it's clear to me which one is which. And this one is the specular, so it's gonna be crossing spec. So I'm gonna be pausing the video. I'm gonna renaming all this one, every single one of those textures one, and that will help me texture the road as I need it. But you do not need to see through that. So let me pause the video and resume it. All right, so I renamed every single one of them, and well, I have this one left because I'm not gonna be using it. So what you need to understand from here is that every single one of them has three versions, two versions of it, right? One is going to be the diffuse, the other one is going to be the bump or the normal, which gives the 3D fake effect to it. And the other one is going to be the specular. The specular part of it is when the road needs to be shiny. For example, the curb doesn't have one because usually curbs are not shiny. Not even the sidewalks are shiny, but the roads, especially in the summertime, it get kind of shiny, depending on how you look at it, or if it's wet. But the curb is not that important, so they only had two textures for it: the bump and the diffuse. Now, if you wanna do even a better job, you can just group them by three files and create a new directory like that. You just call it concrete clean, right? And keep going and move every single one of them in its own directory. Oops. Crossing. Crossing 2. All right, so we got our shit properly sorted out. We have how many files in here? 38 files, 38 textures. And we're done with the texture. We collected all the texture that we need for the road. And we're gonna be start modeling the first we're gonna start with the sidewalk, and then we're gonna plan the road itself. Hopefully you have Blender installed already. Create the plane, make it 10 meters. Edit mode, edge select, move it another 10 meters. So I have 20 meters by 10 meters. Now, it's very important that you import some sort of geometry from the game, like a vehicle or a ped, to know exactly how big the whole thing is going to be. Because although you know it's 10 by 20, it's still gonna you can still get it wrong. So it's gonna be ambulance. That's one. Select hierarchy. So this looks like it could be a two-line, one line per one-way line, but it's two. So that's gonna be is gonna be called, and then we're gonna import another piece of geometry, which is gonna be the ped. We need to know exactly how tall the curb is going to be. So we now know we now have two pieces of geometry from the game itself. What is the collision? Kind of bothers me look like that. And it's going to help us decide how big everything is going to be. Save your project. Since this is going to be the sidewalk, there is no need to be any wider than two. Well, assuming that you do not make like something special that's wider than two peds. So we're gonna restrict it to that. We're gonna split this in half. So select the plane, edit modes, which is tab, or click this menu in here, edit mode. Then press number 3 or select the face. Hold Control, press R. Move the mouse over the center line in here, the bottom line, but in the center. Just click it and then select number 3 again and select this face. It's still too big, so we're going to do it again. Select the face, Control R, split it one more time. Number 3, select the face and delete. I think this is a good width for the. Let me look at the whole thing from the top. So what I've done, I pressed number 5 on the numpad, and I changed the view from perspective to top orthographic. If you do not see that area, click on text diff on the statistics. So let me move the ped. I'm still in edit mode. So select hierarchy. If you are to duplicate this on the Y, on the X, you will see there's you can fit two peds on that area. like that. Go back to perspective, and now we're going to be creating the curb itself, the sidewalk itself. So we do not need, for now, we do not need the pads anymore. Actually, we do not need the pads at all because we decided how wide the sidewalk is going to be. For the roads, we're going to be using the vehicle. So we're going to be selecting this, select hierarchy, delete hierarchy, like that. There is no reason to keep all that in the scene. Then we're going to be set the origin to the mask. Enter edit mode, press tab or select edit mode in here. Press number 1 to select the vertex right here in the corner. And hold Control and press B, which will let you bevel the vertices, is what we want right here. And we're gonna be doing I don't know how much detail do we need. I think 15 will do. And also this step is very important in that sense. The width, pay attention to where this vertex in here is gonna be. It needs to be very close to this one. So we keep going with the width until we get close. If it goes too fast, hold shift and move the slider in here. So this is what we want. That's how was the radius of the turn. That's going to be part of the intersection. That's going to be. We're done in here. Let's merge those. I don't know if I still have them separated or not. Yeah, they're still. So go to snap. Make sure the snap looks exactly, the snap screen looks exactly like this way. And then you have this option turned on, which is the auto merge. And you select the vertex that's close to the other one. I already done it, so there is no point on going back to. And do it again with this one that's not supposed to be merged yet. Because this is where the curve starts. All right. I think I fucked up. Because I removed the pad. I still need to know exactly how much to extrude the curve. So that's no biggie. So enter edit mode. Press number 3 to select the faces. Press I to insert. Like that. Hold shift if it goes too fast. So we now have inset faces. So let's call it 0.05. I think that's a good width for the curve. And let me import the thing again. So import, get that pad into the scene. Now to keep it realistic, you need to extrude the curve to have a certain height, right? So I think the ankle makes a good height for the whole thing. And make sure you have the faces selected in here. If not, press number 3. Hold Alt and click the center. Click the center of the face in here. That will go all the way around. We'll make the selection go all the way around. And then press E to extrude, and then Z on the Z-axis. And if I have to switch to orthographic view and look at the scene from the left or from the right, you can decide how much to extrude upward. I think that's a good size for it. So go back to perspective, and we're going to be fixing this one unless you insist on having it. Usually Right here, you're gonna have buildings and all that stuff. So most likely not gonna have a curb. And I'm gonna select in this faces in here. Double check that it's all selected all the way around. Press delete, select face, and one more. Press number 2. Make sure the actually should not have changed active, and snap it so it matches the vertex in here. So everything is straight. The same with this one. And number 2, if it's not already selected, click one edge, hold Alt and Shift. So you select top edges in here. Make sure it's selected all the way around. We should remove this one too. We do not need, because this is going to be, yeah. So this one needs to be removed too. So number 3, select face. Select these 3 faces. Then number 2, select this edge and snap it to match the widths in here. So number 2 again, Alt Shift, and have those selected. Then we're gonna do Control B to bevel it. If you move too fast, again hold Shift. Use the scroll on the mouse to adjust the how much detail you want to add. You don't want to add too much detail because there is no point. Curves usually do not have details. So segments 2 and the width is going to be 0.01. That's good enough for what we're trying to do in here. You know what? Let's make this a little smaller in here. There is no point on extending it that much. Come on, Blender, you fuck. Like that. Now we're gonna be, so this semicircle in here, we're gonna split it in 2. So when we mirror, after we texture the whole thing, we're gonna mirror it, and we're gonna have the second half already textured from what we already, for the geometry that we already have. So let me look at the textured view in here. Control R, with the mouse over the center, click, double create a vertex in here, like that, and I'm gonna snap it to where this vertex in here is. So have this one selected and this one selected, and press J to join them. And then we're gonna be selecting this one and this one. Press J. I think it's good enough. I may be wrong. Hold on. Like that. And then eliminate this one. Like so. And now that we have, well, I kind of eyeball it. I got used to it. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that those faces are symmetrical with those faces right here. With this, but there is no good way of being certain other than actually duplicating the whole thing. So test. This is just for testing. Face. We're gonna go back to this because we're gonna have to texture it. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the moment we have this bit textured, we're trying to save time. Save time as in, the moment I create the other side of the sidewalk or the intersection on the opposite side, I don't want to retexture it. I'm just going to be duplicating this piece of geometry so we save time on texturing and modeling. So we now have this bit in here, and we're going to change the origin to the corner, and then we're going to be duplicate this piece of geometry and mirror it on the x-axis, right? So with this selected, make sure the tool have this origin deselected. Go to the toolbar. This toolbar is for free. You can get it from my Discord. You don't have to pay for it. So go to hold Shift and D to duplicate it on the X. So you move, press X on the keyboard. You move this on the X axis, right, like that. And then you click on the mirror, select the object, and select X. Then with this selected, you move the you hold Control, or if the snap it's already turned on, you just get it close to the corner in here. And now we're gonna be rotating this 90 degrees. So R, Z. Yeah, so I went overboard a little bit in here. And to fix that, because I don't want to adjust the geometry, I'm just gonna delete this one. Enter edit mode, add a new cut, Control R. I'm gonna be selecting this vertex in here. Press J to join. I'm gonna be selecting the faces that make up the extra stuff that I do not need. Delete. I already have that one in the same place. Shift D, X, mirror, click, and X. Then move it close, R, Z. And this is supposed to be 90 degrees. It's a little bit of an issue here, but that's very easy to solve. So this is what we're trying to do. Actually, let's solve it right now because that's going to save us time down the road. So when you have those two selected, just like that, hold Control and press J to join the geometry. Now you see this is supposed to be blue and this is supposed to be red. I just dampened the colors a little bit. Press Tab to enter edit mode. And so with one face selected, hold Control and press L. That will select linked all the normals, all the geometry on this side, and then hold Alt and press N. That will flip the normals so it's facing the same way as this one. And now with that done, press number 2, select edges, select those two edges in here, like that. Press F. F stands for fill. And repeat the same with this area, F. And do them one by one. It's very important when you start with low poly, because if you make mistakes, well, it's not much of a mistake as not wanting to go through the trouble of installing a plugin to CAD to give me the perfect radius and calculate all that shit. I don't want to talk about trigonometry on that shit. So nobody wants to hear that. So I'm doing this way so you understand how to go around having issues like that happening to you. So now that I have everything in here, whoopsie, selected, hold Control and press R to create another cut. Like that. And now we're going to be selecting all these faces in here and delete them. We only needed this to know exactly where this cut is going to start, right? That's pretty much all we did. Press number 3 to select faces, hold Shift, turn around, look around. Select everything in here. This seems to be good. Now, if you're paranoid and you really might want to make sure that you actually did it right, what do? You first exit edit mode, then you center origin to mass, and then you go to tool, origin, press G, move the mouse over in the corner, press hold control. If the snapping tool is not activated, I'm only holding. I never have this activated. I like to hold control so it snaps when I want it to. And then disable the origin. With this geometry selected, you go to you're gonna duplicate it, right? Shift D X, mirror, select it, and then X, and then you move it close nearby, and then press R, Z, and it's gonna be 90 degrees. So you now have a perfect mirror of this area, but it's not textured yet. So, but just to make it obvious what I'm trying to do, I'm gonna select both of them, Shift D, X, R, Z, and it's 90 degrees, right? I hope it's clear now that what I'm trying to do is just texture one little bit, and then everything that I duplicate is going to be already textured. It's going to save us time. All right, let's do the texturing right now because I know you motherfuckers, that's what you're waiting for in here. So let's get to it. We're gonna be hiding the pad in here. Make sure that you have this option enabled where it says viewport shading, and we're gonna be adding a Solums shader. So go to Solums, drawable, shader tool. On the search field, if you do not see the search field in here, you could just click this tiny arrow down, arrow to the right, and type normal and select normal spec. Where is it? Normal spec, this one. And then create shader material. Now you go to data. You go to UV maps, double click the name and call this one UV map 0. And then go to color attribute, face corner. Oh, which one is it, you fucks? Color 1. There you go. So it's color 1, and you already saw the other stuff that needs to be the way it needs to be. And then we select the geometry here, enter editing mode, press A to select all the faces, like that. And then you go to UV, unwrap. Then you go to my toolbar, you go to UV map, you can press in cube. And if you do not know how to open these, let me close them so you'll see me opening it, because you're gonna be bitching on my comments. How did you do that? So you move the mouse over the corner right here on the left side, and hold the button down and move it to the right. And then if you want to split this one in multiples, like you're gonna need that list too, right? Move the mouse in the corner, blender, like that. And this one is gonna be UV editor, and the other one is gonna be the shader editor. Press N if you want to hide that toolbar. So let me close this one and open it on this setting here and have more screen space. Properties, like that. All right, we know exactly those is exactly what we want to work with. Now, we're gonna be using different textures for the curb and for the sidewalk. That means from the directory that we created with all this stuff, we're gonna be using probably this and curb this. So what I've done, I moved the mouse over this view, held Control, and press space. Make sure this is very important, that this looks exactly the way it looks with the names for the UV map that we created. It's under the properties in here. It's very important. And we have 3 images to work with. We're gonna do the sidewalk and then we're gonna do the curbs. So on the diffuse, if you remember how we named the files, this one we're gonna be doing the sidewalk. So for the diffuse, you select the diffuse right here. That's why I named it, so just for you to know exactly which one is which. And before you, because it's very obvious for me at least, which one is the diffuse, which one is the specular, and which one is the bump on the normal. This is specular because it looks a little weird. This one looks blue. So this one we now selecting the specular, all right? And the last one, like so. Everything else looks okay. And I held Control and press space to minimize those, so I can look at the geometry I'm interested in. Now, this looks blue, but if you click this one, it will shift to the actual texture. So we're now looking at the textured sidewalk in here, but it's also affecting the curb. We'll change that later. So select those 2 faces that's actually part of the curb. This one too, 3 faces. And if you look at the UV mapping here, you will see this should look something like that, right? But we're gonna rotate the geometry because right now we need the dirt to match the side in here. So move the mouse over the UV mapping in here, press A to select all the geometry, and then press R to rotate, and then press Z. And we rotated 90 degrees in here. And then press with the mouse over this window, press G and try to make it close to the curb in here. What I've done, I held Shift Alt and pressed Z. So the preview, I mean the geometry detail as in modeling disappear. If you don't want to do that, you just go to object mode. But you can preview that within the edit mode. So it's Alt Shift Z. If you cycle through those, they will activate this one without exiting the edit mode. It's very important to know that kind of stuff. So we now, looks kind of big, the tile's kind of big. Let's see if we can make it without being, well, this looks good in Blender, but the moment you're in game, it's going to look kind of pixelated, it's going to look ugly, right? So move the mouse over the UV editor, press A to select everything, make sure that you select everything, press R, S, not R, S to size, and kind of G to move it. Something like that. That's a little better. GY. GX, something like that. Now let's do the curve. We're gonna go to Solums. So let's rename the shaders as needs to be. So it's gonna be sidewalk, and we're gonna add a new one. Make sure that normal spec is selected. Create shader material, select it, and change the name to curve. And then hold Alt, Shift, and Z to activate the preview and edit mode. Then hold Alt, and we're gonna be only selecting the geometry that's part of the curve. We're not interested in the sidewalk anymore. And if you've done a good job like I've done, this is going to be very easy to select. If you haven't paid attention to the modeling technique, well, good luck to you selecting all the faces. Hopefully you learn why is it important to model low poly and then add details if you want, because you're going to create a nightmare for yourself by adding too much detail to begin with. All right, so we selected the curve. We're going to select the curve shader and assign. And we have a completely different color because we do not have the textures for this particular shader. So move the mouse over this window, hold Control press space to maximize it, and then we're going to be adding the textures for the curve one by one. So we're going to do curve right here, this one. And now I think I'm gonna be using as spec a different texture. So this is the diffuse. I'm gonna be adding the bump, and then for the specular, I'm gonna be using a different texture from a different directory that has nothing to do with the curve. We're gonna be using road cracks, right? So spec is gonna be the road cracks. If you change in here, you will see. If you name it properly, you will see that you can do that. So the specular. In game, you will see that depending on how the light shines on the curb, it's gonna look a little cracky. It's gonna look a little weird. All right, so let's properly do this area in here. So it's already looking like something dirty, but you cannot make out what's going on other than being really bad. So if you see this whole thing disappearing, that means I pressed Alt, Shift, and Z. I need to look at the whole thing without the edit view. So with this one selected, move the mouse over in here, press A, press G. A, R, G. So it still looks off, right? So let's fix that. Now, if you are to look at the whole thing, you will see that it's curved, and it's also curved in the UV editor. But you can fix that by actually straightening up the UV. So editing the UV in here will not affect the geometry as in the world position on the 3D view. So just don't be scared to manipulate the UV maps on the UV map. Press G. Whoa, I select too much. So that's supposed to be the top. And then you can go to vertex selection. And press G and Y. And move those vertices as you need. G, Y. Yeah, you probably now understand why I haven't done a tutorial on UV mapping. Looks a little better, but the top has more detail than the sides. So let's match that a little bit, right? So we're gonna moving this out of the way for a second. So the shader tells the geometry this is gonna be repeating. Just so you know, although you do not see it over the UV map, it's gonna be all the way here. That doesn't mean it's not affected by the texture just because it's up in here. You can it's because it's repeating. The texture coordinates will still match. You just have to move it in the right position so it matches. But I'm trying to make it easy for myself to see exactly what I'm editing in here. So I now separated those things, the faces. So whatever selected right here in the UV magnet is going to be selected in here. And if I have to resize it, like so, I can now play and even make a more precise adjustment of where the if I want a completely straight edge, yep, that's what it takes to do the UV mapping. It's boring as fuck. Some people enjoy it. I do not. So if you are to do that, then you can resize. You can now resize the UV mapping. Select the bit that we're interested in. It's already overlapping the other stuff. Yep. And as you move it, G, Y, you can precisely position the whole thing as you need. So this is going to be the red area, right? So we're going to be resizing S so it matches the dirt, the ground level with the top, like that. So S, if you're unhappy, just move it up or down. G, Y. If you want to do it that way, you can do it this way. And then it's pretty much how you add detail on the UV mapping. So let's do this side right now because that's pretty much all that's left, right? This row too, like that. And then we have this stuff in here, if I can only see. And zoom out, S. Like that, so move it where it's supposed to be, height-wise, S, Y, then G. And then resize it even more if you need to. But that's how you'd add studio quality detail to your mesh if you want to. Now this is going to be a little bit of an issue in here because the joint ends exactly where the mesh ends, and when we duplicate part of this geometry to go on the y-axis, is going to look a little weird, but we can do that later. But this is the basics on how to make it look like the GTA5 road. That's what it takes. So we are, how deep are we on this video? 55 minutes, holy shit. So let's quickly create from this piece of geometry that we have right here a four-way, a very basic four-way. So we are now out of edit mode, we're in the object mode, and we already know that the origin it's right in the corner because we have to change that from when we duplicated the whole thing. So but to make sure that if you want to just enable it, hold control, move the mouse, press G, hold control, move the mouse over the corner, disable it, right? And then we're gonna have this bit and we're gonna duplicate it on the x-axis. So hold shift, press D, then press X, we move it all the way here, and then go to mirror, click the geometry, X, and then we're gonna go to apply. Looks like the normals are facing the right way. All right. And then we make sure that the origin is also set again on this. So enable it, press G, Move the mouse over the corner, snap it to the corner, disable it, move it into the corner, hold control, or if it's on for you, you don't have to hold control, and then press R and then Z, and you have a good looking sidewalk in here. We can change this stuff later. We can use a different piece of geometry to cut. I kind of like it. I kind of like it the way it is. A little bit of a abstraction into the detail. So we did that, right? And then select both of them, and we're gonna duplicate it again on the x-axis. Shift D, X, then R, Z, and we're gonna do -90, and then move it on the outside a little bit, make yourself some room in there, select the vehicle, place it. I'm gonna switch to orthographic view. I'm gonna be placing the vehicle so I can tell exactly how many lines I'm gonna be creating. I think it's safe to say if I don't have to move this bit anymore on the outside, this is a one line, two ways, right? And if I want to know exactly how much space do I need for a two line on each direction, Shift D, duplicate the vehicle in here on the axis like that. And if I have to create a plane, take this edge and move it kind of in here. I know this is going to be right now a two line per direction, something like that. And then select those two, select that one, duplicate on the X, so I know exactly where the other two lines on the other direction will start. And I'm gonna change the origin to the corner like that, and it's gonna be in the corner of this face in here. We now know exactly how much space we need for a four-way. But we're not gonna be doing it, so we're done in here with this one. Because once we know exactly how much space two line takes up, we can just go even more to the right or to the left and create one, split it in two, or add to it. All right, so we now have textured the curb with the sidewalk and all that stuff. Let's create a road in here. So we're going to be creating a plane. I gotta answer the phone 1 second. All right, we're gonna create a plane. We're gonna move the origin to one of the corners. Then we're gonna snap the corner to the corner where the sidewalk is supposed to be, like that. Double checking that's actually the snapping worked the way we want it. Then enter edit modes, take this edge and move it to the other corner. And we're going to be splitting this in two, so we have actually in three. Three, four. So we have one line, two lines, one way, and one line, two line on the other way. The same, go to Solums. Create two shaders, so we have different textures for each of them. Select the faces, because the same way we duplicated the sidewalk, we're gonna duplicate it in the road, right? Select those two faces and assign that, making sure that's UV mapped and Q. Then we access the shaded area in here. Pretty much repeat the same. So as you can see, because I haven't fixed that stuff, right now it's in red. So it's very easy to forget to do that shit. Now if you move the mouse over, you will see that actually is the right one. I'm going to create the color too. Color 1, but the color. And we now have the color for that stuff. Going back to textures. And we're going to be using this as an example. I don't want to overcomplicate stuff. So diffuse, for diffuse, spec for spec, and bump for bump. Double checking everything that's in here. All right. I think I want to flip the texture so I have the median on this side next to the other one. So select this face, make sure you in edit mode in here with the face selected. Press, move the mouse over the UV map editor. Press R to rotate and Z. Maybe that's not ideal because as you can see there's a spacing issue in here. So we're going to do a different way. We're going to delete this one and we're going to be using the same face as this one, right? So we're going to go to mass, save, select the face, select the geometry, Shift D, X, rotate on Z, set the origin to the corner, and then move it close. Oh, I haven't mirrored. I'm a dumbass. Hold on. So we now have perfectly matching medians with the white markings, and we can join this. Control J. Select this face, edit mode, select the face, Alt N to flip, so it faces the same way. And now with both of them selected, we can resize the UV map. So press A, S, that's pretty good. So that's pretty much all there is to it in that sense to create the road. We're going to be duplicating this one on this side. And additionally, we're going to create a new piece of geometry that's going to be the median with a different texture. All right. So select this, Shift D, X. Then we're going to move the origin to the center. And we're going to snap it to, oh, this is joint. So edit mode, those two faces, press P to separate selection. And then we're going to move it in here. Now, because we did it right, this is going to be exactly what it needs to be, but we need to move it a little bit. So we create the geometry for the median. Select those two, Control J. Like that, and then select the enter edit mode, select the edges, number 2, press F to fill. You know, it looks a little ugly, but that's normal. Go to Solums, create another shader. I think we already have this one that's not it, so I'm just going to call this one median. And I'm going to be with this face selected with the medium, number 3, assign. And because, no, this one. And double check that the color and the UV map are correct. And add the textures for the median. So we're going to go to road markings. We're going to go to this image. All right. So this is the diffuse, specular, and bump. Select the diffusing here. So Blender gives us the right thing. And make sure this face is selected that has the specific shader. Press A, press G, and to show the toolbar, and cube. And to hide it, press A, S, G, something like that. So you now have one line for each, two lines for each direction, and the second line in here. If you want to extend this, and you have whatever, however long roads you need. Now, if you remember at the beginning of the video, I showed you the intersection in the game where you have the decals over the road, you have dirt, you have other meshes, and so on. If you are to remove all that stuff from the game itself, it will look exactly like this, repetitive and boring. But since they had the decals and the dirt and garbage on the road and all that stuff, it makes it look realistic. But we're not about that life right now. You just want to learn the basics, and this is the basics. So right now, let's add another mesh to create like a sidewalk, right? Because you need to know how to create that too. We're gonna join this. Control J. Edit modes. To repeat that in here. We're gonna snap it exactly where the road is. Double checking in here, it's happening. Oh, Blender, you fuck. And origin. And boom. We're right there. Now, let's create the, we can actually fake it. I'm gonna join all this stuff, Control J. Nothing looks weird. You see the triangle counting here, 628. It's very important when you do this kind of stuff, you keep adding details, and the moment you want to change the texture and do all other stuff, if you try to select the curve or do something else, it's going to be a complete nightmare for you to do proper job at selecting and reading the UV, redoing the UV on it. So we already having this in here. I'm going to change the origin to this. I'm going to do duplicate on the Y. I'm going to do a rotate on Z. 180. But we're going to mirror it. What the hell? Shift D, R, Z. We're going to eliminate the sidewalks because there is no reason for that. We're not going to keep in the road. Sidewalk we already have it in here. And we're going to duplicate in this geometry. Duplicate next. Rotate. Actually, we're not going to rotate, we're going to mirror it on the X. Then we're going to snap it to where it is, right here. So the median and the lane separator will have continuity. And we're going to join this. Oh, Blender. Blender, you motherfucker. Of course, create double meshes. I don't know how. If that's the case for you, you know what to do. Just select them and delete them. Now it pisses me off to no end. I didn't duplicate this. And no, the other's facing the other way. Yeah, this is a duplicate face again. Don't ask me how it happened. Alright, so we now have the normals facing the right way. It's very important the normals to face the right way because when you export the geometry, if you create the collisions from the same type of mesh, you're gonna fall through the world because the normals are facing the wrong way. Why do I have a feeling this is also duplicated? Blender, you motherfucker. Okay, we're good now. So we have the road. And if you remember at the beginning of the video, we had one pad in here, one pad in here, which means we can cut this stuff in here to create the and add the textures for the sidewalk. And we already extracted the texture for the sidewalk. Not the sidewalk, the zebra. The crossroad, whatever the fuck is called. Crossing. This. So it's going to be on the crossing. But because we need to secure those faces, as in having facing it the right way, we're going to duplicate this on the x-axis. And we're going to separate it so we can properly align it. I gotta add on my toolbar the origin. I'm using it so much. It's not even funny how many times I have to shift. Why Blender? Why? Why the fuck you create a duplicate of that shit? God damn it. Alright. Control J. And we're gonna be slicing this and this and this and this to allow us to do the what the fuck did they call it? Crossing. Um, let's weld the close by vertices because I feel like I have way too many. Go to the toolbar, merge by distance, 72. So this is less than 1 millimeter, and I had extra 70 something. All right, we're good on that now, and we're gonna be we're gonna be creating the cuts. Number 3. And we already have a few. We're gonna add a new one that's gonna be called crossing. Number 3, select the faces we're interested in. Like that. And as usual, double check the UV map, it's what needs to be. And then we're gonna be adding the texture for each of them. Crossing the dirty one or the clean one. Oh, there's two. I mean, the one that it's red brick and the other one that actually has the stripe, the zebra. Crossing. This is speck and this is bump. There you go. But we have to redo the UV mapping because it's mismatching in here. Looks a little weird. At least where the center. Maybe it looks fancy. Maybe you want to keep that the way it is. All right. We still have those selected. Press A. Why showing me the roads texture? You fuck. God damn, I gotta select something 10 times before Blender shows me the right thing. Alright, back to edit mode. Now it shows me the other one that has nothing to do with what I'm doing. Let's do a cube AS. And then we're gonna be rotating the texture so it matches the because this one goes the wrong way and this one that goes the right way. So select the right faces. So you see you have traffic coming this way and coming that way. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dirt patches. So that doesn't look right. So it's going to be GX. And then it's going to be sizing it upward. So kind of match the colors in here. Well, match the color as in where the dirt shows up, not because the brake will hold the dirt in a completely different way than the concrete. So we're trying to make a good visual, aesthetically match, right? I'm going to resize a little bit more. I think this is good enough because when we mirror this one, we can still edit the UV maps to match the crosswalk. But I'm not gonna go through that now. I don't want to be here for another 2 hours. The same in here. Something like that. All right. Now, one last thing. Well, we also have the corners in here. Um, do the center. The center, usually you want to do it a completely dark color, unless you insist not to. They have a concrete instead of have a tarmac in here. The black one, I just add the concrete blocks or continue with this one. But as you saw me curving the UV maps for in here, you can use the same technique to curve this texture in here to make it look like it's some sort of continuity to it. But I don't want to do that. Again, I don't want to be here for, is this one big object now? Yeah. So I'm gonna rush through this because we already, how deep are we on this video? 1 hour and 34 minutes, holy shit. Number two. Just selecting the edges in here. And we're gonna be applying a completely different texture for this one. So go back to Solums, normal spec, create shader material, double click, name it center or whatever you want, it doesn't matter. Then double check that the whole thing looks okay, color. Then move to the shader thing and add a new set of pictures. I don't even know exactly what I want. I don't know if I have any textures for this. Maybe this. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, it's weird. That's a little better. Only because the moment you add decals and all that stuff, you're not gonna be seeing the tiny what's the repeated. I cannot even talk 1 hour and a half later. It's not gonna the repeatability of it is not gonna show in here if you do a good job at placing decals and dirt and all that stuff. All right, so let's close the the corner in here. Number two. And this is no good because it goes all the way in here, so we gotta do it in a different way. Something shady is going on here. But Blender, what the fuck is this one flipped? Now all three are flipped. Two more. All right, let's texture those faces. Where the fuck is this geometry coming from, man? Let's duplicate it again. I don't know. I cannot tell. I guess we're gonna find out in game. All right, so let's get those faces that we just created for the corners and give them a different texture. We're gonna fix that later. If you zoom in, you're gonna have an easier time adjusting the texture. Now you know why nobody wants to do the UV mapping shit as in tutorial. That's why. Blender has the most awkward. You have to move the mouse left right for the texture to move up and down. I mean, why, Blender? You fucks. All right. So this is quite decent right now. It's not perfect. We still have some faces in here overlapping, which is really bad. You should never ignore this stuff. Then I have to redo the UV mapping because I changed the position of the geometry. But I get the idea. And double checking here. This is good. This is bad. Really bad. All right. Well, this is it. This is how you do it. We are 1 hour and 50 minutes. Holy shit. 2 hours. I don't think I'll ever do a 2 hour tutorial ever again. And or UV mapping a fucking road. But it is what it is. Yeah, this is bad. Right here. You see? Tiny fixes like that. Yep. I'm not gonna do it, but you know exactly what's going on. So this is it. This is a four-way intersection with two lines on each direction, four lines in total. That's what it takes to do it. To do it right with the texture that you can extract from the game. You don't have to do any baking. You don't have to do any of that shit. The moment you got the technique down, or more or less, because I had to talk to you, it took 2 fucking hours. Usually this is like a 35-minute job, but that's how was it done. Well, thank you for watching. See you on the next one. Bye.